Except now I'm worried that Lori is frozen.
I have 3 kiddos at home that are trying to get work done. So I've asked them to hold off for a few minutes until I finish this, or for an hour. So hopefully they'll refrain from doing their schoolwork. Who argues with that, right? Okay, so here we go. All right, so I don't know how much of what I said earlier that you heard, so I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna go at this like you're somewhat new to Desmos, and then kind of ramp it up. So hopefully if you're brand new, this will all make sense. And if you've used it for a while, hopefully there's some nuggets and all this that you can catch from what I'm presenting today. So first of all, just thank you for coming. I know that this can be a stressful time if you have kids at home or just trying to take care of your kids online. It can be a little bit stressful. So thank you for taking time out to come and learn and grow, and that way your students definitely will benefit from it. Hopefully one of these days we're all sitting at a table again like this, collaborating, but I love the collaboration that's happening right now across curriculum. We were just talking, Christina and I were just talking about Desmos and how many people are sharing things and webinars, and it's just all kinds of crazy, awesome things that are going on right now. My word for last week was grace, just giving myself grace on, messing up or trying new things, and then also my students who, some of my kids are still working. I don't know about you guys, but some of my kids are nurses at nursing homes, or they're just still working at Atwoods, and so they're still out in public. And so trying to balance school and the stress of that, or taking care of their families, is a lot. So just remembering grace. And then I know you guys care for your kids, and just make sure you care for yourself too. Take time out and off social media and out from in front of the screen, and take care of yourselves during this time. All right, so here's the goal for today. I'm going to give you an overview of Desmos. We're going to look at just the calculator just briefly, and then I'm going to show you an overview of what you see on the teacher side of things. And if you'll stay with me on that, then we're going to look at some activities for students and the feedback and assessment part while you're being a
Lori, you've cut out a little bit.
Go back and forth between what you're doing as a student to do that with your kids. You can actually hear me? Yeah. Okay. What did I get to?
You got it. I think we're good now.
Okay. Well, I lost my slide, so let me get it back. I don't know. This is kind of crazy. Okay. Let's see if I can go again. Okay. Maybe I just won't present. We'll see if that works. But we'll edit some activities because we can, and then I'll help you guys create an account if you haven't created one, and then also how to create your student accounts. And so Christine's already talked about one of the norms of just throwing questions in the chat box. And then also if you're able to go back and forth between a couple of tabs, we'll want to do that as well. Okay. So I want to take a look at just Desmos. So usually when we go to Desmos, and it's so powerful. Start graphing and then throw up some equations for your kids to look at, and we'll just do a quick one. And talk about y-intercept, talk about x-intercept. There's so many things you can do, sliders, all kinds of good stuff. You can share your graph. So like if card sorts, like physical card sorts, you can make those pretty quickly. So lots of things there. That's for another day though. If you haven't played around with that, that's cool. This is also a tailored down version of Desmos that we just saw is on the ACT now and the SAT if they're taking it online. Also for function calculator and scientific calculator, inside the activities now, there's a little check box that you can use to get a calculator actually on the screen for your students, so that they don't have to grab, my kids were grabbing a calculator or going back and forth between the activity and just desmos.com to use the calculator. So now they have it right there on the screen. Okay, this is the overview part of teacher.desmos.com. All right, so I already have an account, so my name is over here on the right side. So hopefully you can still see this in Zoom. On the left side, I have a lot of options over here. So I have the home button, the most popular activities. These are my activities. So this is a new thing with Desmos. You can collect things and put them in kind of a folder. So here are my collections so far. So I have my activities for distance learning. I have some bookmark things, elementary instructional routines, because I love which one doesn't belong. And then one of my friends at Jinx, Shelly Temple, shared her collection with me. We've shared back and forth because we're trying to figure stuff out. And then some things that I pull slides off of, which I'm going to show you how to do that in just a little bit. There are custom activities, so the activities that I've made, the history of activities that I've assigned my students, and then there's a lot of featured collections down here. So you can click on those and look through. So if you're trying to find an activity on the Conic section, you can click on that, and then there's all these activities that come up. And so you can look through those. You can even add it to your collection. So that makes it kind of nice. That, like I said, that's new. You can also use the search bar to search for an activity. So if you like marble slides or the polygraph function, you can use that to search. I have found that searching, like doing a Google search, pulls up more activities than typing it into this box. So we'll look at that in just a little bit too. All right, but I want to go back to my collections, and I want to show you what it looks like from the teacher view, because the teacher view and student view are very, very different. So let's see, I want to go to, I'll just pull up my quiz that I gave. So I gave this as a quiz last week. So this was created by me. There's a teacher guide if you want to fill that out. I didn't do that because I was, kind of trying to just get my class figured out, but I will go back and do a teacher guide because other teachers may want to use it. When I click on this, I can add it to my collection. So I've already put it into my BHS collection, but this is kind of cool. I can edit my activity from here, but I can also share my activity. So if I want to send it to someone to look at, I can share that activity. I can also copy and edit it. So you will be able to do this too, because I made this where other teachers could use it. So this is a powerful thing. When I click on copy and edit, we'll come back to this later, but when I click on that, I own that activity and I can take out slides. I can use their shell and put different questions in it. And I'll show you one that I did so you can see what that looks like. So if you find an activity that you think you might like, you can come down. These are the screens in the activity. So I can click on student preview, and I can see all the things that this activity is going to ask the student to do, and I can decide if I want to keep the screen or not. I can even click this button and just copy this screen and put it into an activity that I'm building myself. All right, so I have been using this screen. It's just an honor code, and I know my kids can get outside help on quizzes because we are not together anymore. But I try to guilt them into being honest. So here are some things that Desmos can do. They can draw a graph, they can fill in a table, and this is one of their new features. You can upload a picture of work. So I'll show you that in just a second. But that's how you can kind of flip through the screens and see, yeah, I think I like this activity, or I kind of like a few of these screens and I want to capture those and put them into my activity. And I'll show you how to do that before you leave today. All right, I also want to show you the dashboard because I think this is a very powerful thing, and you'll see as you're working through activities and an activity in a minute, and I'm looking at the dashboard, how powerful it is. All right, so this screen pops up when you click view dashboard. I used to do this. I used to have my kids type student.desmos.com and then put the code in. And then, as soon as I would go away from the screen, they'd be like, Coach Lowe, I didn't get that code, and could you put that back on the board again? I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just want to watch what you guys are doing, so I'd go write it on the whiteboard. I can't read, So now what I do is I copy this link and I drop it into Canvas because that's what we use, or you could drop it in Remind, or you could put it on Google Classroom, and that way kids can just click on it and then go right to that activity. So that's a lifesaver. And I'll tell you this, and just I'll remind you of this later too. When they create their student account, or when they log into an activity, they need to sign in with Google. If you're a Google user, they need to sign in with Google, or they need to create a Desmos account so that their work is saved. If they just sign in without saving, if they don't finish the activity, it's not going to save it. So we want to make sure that they do that. All right. So I have anonymized my students, and I can go through these slides and I can see what they've done on the activity. Okay, so that's not any different than it was before. Here is the deal, guys. This is like the most exciting thing. This little button up here is a lesson feedback button. On each slide, you will be able to give feedback, and you have to turn it on. You have to go to Desmos Labs, and we have to turn it on, so we'll do that in a second. But you give feedback here. So you can see I typed in great job on screen 6. So this is where she would see that feedback. And so she didn't miss anything. So I didn't have to put anything on her screen. I had some students miss this first one. So I would say, hey, you need to make sure you follow order of operations here. Go back and fix that. Okay, that's a quiz, almost immediate feedback. And they sent their new work to me. And I could also see where their mistake was by looking at the upload. So when they upload this, it's kind of like if you use WebAssign or Canvas, sorry, not WebAssign. If you use Canvas, it's kind of a similar upload. They have to save it to Google Drive or save it to their hard drive and then upload it here. Okay, so same type of thing. So I can flip through all of this student work, find their mistake, leave them a little note, and then I just go, so I can look at all of them to see if they've completed. So this student opened the quiz but did not complete it. This student worked all the problems and didn't get an upload here. This student opened the quiz, did not complete it. So the gray boxes mean they did not finish. Okay, if you have questions, please make sure you type it in the chat. Snapshot, so I can take pictures of student work. Let's see if I can get a summary going here. I'll do one in just a second where I can take pictures of student work, maybe, so I can get some snapshots going. So you can take snapshots of student work and you can pull them in. And then what I like to do is look for a common mistake. So this is student work. They don't have their names on it or anything like that. What do I like about this? What do I not like about it? So lots of things that you can do with that snapshot idea. Okay. Going back. Okay, so I'm gonna drop this link into, if I can grab it. Let me grab the link real quick. I'm gonna drop it to the chat. Oh my God. I'm gonna grab this link and I'll drop it into the chat box for you guys. I only saw 8 slides on there. I did not see all of them. I'm going to create another class code because I want all of my slides. There they go. Okay. Okay. Can you guys get the code? It should be in the chat. So you should just be able to copy and paste that and get into the activity. Sweet. Okay, so if you can side by side your screen, or if you want to kind of flip back and forth between the two tabs, if you want to look at mine, once you get into the activity, if you want to look at mine and then go back and look at yours, if you'll look at mine real quick, the button on the top left, I can change and anonymize you guys. The button in the middle, I can actually put a starting and a stopping point, and I'm not going to let you go past screen 4 when you're working. So this is super valuable in the classroom, because if you want to stop and everybody talk about like, let's all get to number 4 and then we're going to talk and have a conversation, you can stop, kids. The other thing, if a bunch of kids have the same question, you can hit pause. And I'm telling you, in the classroom, when you hit pause and they're working, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Why did you pause my screen? It's awesome. But you get their attention really quick. It's kind of like flipping that light on and off, you know? All right, so I took the pause off. All right, so if you will go to slide number 2, and put your mood in. So I did this, the very first online activity that my kids did before they did any math had several starter screens on it, because I wanted to know how they were feeling, like what they thought about being away from everyone, what they thought about not being at school. I have a lot of seniors, you know, I got a lot of, I'm scared, what are we going to do about graduation? So it was great. So I copied this screen from another activity, and I'll show you how to use that. So the next starter screen, on number 3, you should be able to drag the point around and do all kinds of stuff with that, left and right. So they're just different screens. So this can be used as a lesson wrap up. You can take the titles off and the information off and use it for something else. You have a lot of options on this. So if you go back to my screen just for a second, can we pause for a second? Go back and look at my screen. So see these little cameras? I can take snapshots, and you notice over here in the top right corner, it says snapshots 1. So I can take snapshots of these, and we can look at those later and talk about, okay, why are, like, if you're looking at graphs or whatever, you can ask a lot of why questions, or like I said, the questions like, what do I like about this? What do you think I don't like about it? So lots of good questions that you can ask from that. Okay, I'll let you guys keep going. Number 4 was an original. I did create number 4. I did do the meme. My daughter is a senior, and then I have a daughter that's a 7th grader. They were mortified by my titles, like mood. I had one that said spill the tea, create your own meme. They're like, oh my gosh, Mom, you cannot try to be like us. I was like, well, I am, and I'm doing it, so get over it. All right, so if you go back to my screen just for a second, so if I want to pace an assignment, so I took off the pacing. If I want to pace an assignment, I'm gonna let you guys practice on this in a second. I click on pacing, and I click a start and a stop, and then I can restrict. I can also edit that if I decide, yeah, I want to go a little farther or whatever. I can edit that and change it in the process. All right. Okay. So if you'll skip to slide number 6, because I think the other ones are starter screens. So you can kind of look through those. Those are just different things that we can do with starter screens. So if you'll go to slide number 6, so I can see, if you go back to my screen, I can see there's one person still on slide 3, one person on slide 4, 2 on slide 5, you know, so I can hurry up my kids and say, all right, let's go, get over there. Come on, Rachel, move, come on, you know, whoever it is, I can ask them to keep moving. So when I get to slide 6, I love which one doesn't belong. And I usually put them on my Promethean board and display those, and then my kids have a conversation. I love having it here because then I have this documentation on which one they thought didn't belong and why. Instead of, just the conversation in the classroom, which is super valuable, but I may want to use this later down the road. Okay. Some super fun distance, and I use these in the classroom when we're face to face, but some super fun activities are marble slides. If you guys haven't played marble slides, they are awesome. So slide 7 and 8, I took off. So mini golf is an entire lesson. I pulled one mini golf slide off to show you guys. Y'all, I didn't know you could do that before, because I would have made an activity for like a back to school with, line for college algebra, lines, parabolas, rational functions. I would have made all kinds of things for them to start the year off with, because they've had all that stuff. So now, instead of doing an entire lesson of parabolas, an entire lesson of lines, I can just pull different screens in. And so I'm pretty excited about that power. All right, so let's see if you guys can figure out the mini marble slides, mini golf marble slides. So this is hole number 2. And you're supposed to drop the ball, change your line so that you can drop the ball to get rid of the stars. Change the line segment, I should say. So when my kids use this, we partner up usually, or they talk to each other. All right, let's move to slide number 8. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. You guys can have, I'll share this activity. You guys can go back, play with it, use it, whatever you want to do with it. Slide number 8 is similar. There's a line, they change, so they're learning slope, y-intercept, they're changing things. When we do the parabola marble slides, so I have juniors and seniors, they've already had algebra 2. It was like probably half of them were going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, like H and K, I've heard that and we've used it, but it actually like moves a graph left and right and up and down. I'm like, yes, isn't that so cool? But they figure things out because they're trying to fix this so that they get rid of the stars. So that's an awesome thing. All right, moving along. Okay, so this was one of the problems, slide number 9. This was one of the problems that was on my quiz. So kids can draw on it. You can enter things into the boxes. I can see what you're doing as you're entering those things in and submitting your answers. I can go back and forth between a summary and student work. So a lot of things that I can see. So I can see that Rachel's on it and starting something. I can see that Carrie's working in the table. So a lot of things that I can look at. So there are toggles between these two. So if you want to go back and look at the teacher screen, there's an overlay. So I can see what's going on here, and it'll put everyone's on that. And there's a response, so I can see them individually. The overlay will put everybody's responses right on top of each other. So the nice thing is when everyone finishes, you can see, okay, did the majority of my class get this or no? So that's super nice. So again, I can take screenshots of these and we can talk about it. All right. Cool. All right, Christine, you can stop me if somebody wants to stop or has questions.
So far, so good.
Okay. All right. I'm trying not to track meet, but when I get excited, I start talking fast and being crazy. So if I go too fast, you guys let me know. So when I sent out, and I'll share with you guys, when I sent out the distance learning activity, the very first one, my kids have been using Desmos in the classroom. They use the graphing part. We do activities. but there were some new things. So in my distance learning Desmos activity, there wasn't any math in it, but there were some things where they had to draw a picture and upload something, like upload a sketch or upload some type of picture that was appropriate, so that they would know when they got to the math part, they would already know how to do those things. And I'll share that with you. You can have it. And you may find a better one that somebody else has used, and that's fine. Not going to hurt my feelings. All right, so number 10, this is a locked answer screen. So you can put anything in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be right, I don't care. But it will lock their answer. So they will not be able to change that. So I use this on quizzes. It locks their answer after after they answer it once, and then I email them and say, or I put a feedback thing on here and say, hey, you might make sure that you made your bases the same and that you distributed that new exponent through before you solved, or whatever their mistake was. So I put that on Desmos, and then I message them either on Remind or on Canvas and say, hey, go back and look at your Desmos quiz, slide number, whatever, and see if you can figure out how to fix that. And so I give them the opportunity to find their mistake with a little help from me. And then they fix it almost immediately. So you can watch your kids, if you're meeting live, you can watch them do this. Or if you are asynchronous, then you can still do this and get back with them later. Okay, slide number 11. Slide number 11 is self-checking. Okay, this is a problem off of one of the assignments that I just gave yesterday. I have, I was trying to count up. I think I have 43 kids in college algebra. Is that right? I think so. I think that's right. 43 kids in 2 college algebra classes. Their assignment was not supposed to be completed until today. I had 22 submit it last night. I was so excited, guys. That's like super early. I was pumped. And it was self-checking, so they knew they were right before they left. And there was some multiple choice in the activity also, and there was a feedback page that I blocked from them so they can't see it, but I could see it. So I could go look at what they had submitted and then go look at the slides and make sure that they knew what they're doing. They had to upload their work also. All right. So here's a show me your work screen. So it gives instructions on the side. And I was telling Christine, I had one of these for each problem that they were working originally, and there were only about 8 problems. And I had a student email me and say, Coach Lo, you're killing me. Like, I'm having to take a picture of this problem and then email it to myself. And it was just a big ordeal. So I made one of these at the end. So just a heads up, if you're going to do that, maybe one at the end. But they can take a picture of their work and upload it to you, which is great. You can also make blank graphs like number 9. You can take off the grid and they can actually do the work right there and not have to upload anything at all. All right, so on slide number 13, you can use graphs in your multiple choice question. So this is a new thing on Desmos. You can click on graph and you can just create the graph. You don't have to screenshot it and pull it in anymore. Now, I will tell you, it does not do matrices. So I screenshotted my matrices and pulled them in to the multiple choice problem, which was a blessing. All right. Are we good still? Okay, so here's, if you go to slide 14, this is where I screenshotted. So you can do screenshots. You can, I would still click on graph, but you can pull in media instead of a graph. So when they were finding the inverse, I could put the inverses on there and they could choose which one was the inverse. And then slide number 15 is something kind of cool. It has a video embedded. So you can embed video. And so if you want to give some small, like, you know, this one's 4 minutes, but I try to keep it short. So if you want to have like a 2-minute reminder or 4-minute reminder, you can just put it right there and then have your kids watch the video and then do another problem on the next screen. Okay, so just a reminder, if you want to go back to my screen just real quick, when you're working through this, the title of your activity is at the top This is the code to get in. I can put a co-teacher on this now. So I saw Tina Kirkpatrick, I think is in here. I could add her as a co-teacher and she would be able to see this screen also. So if you have, if all of your Algebra 2 teachers want to do it and you want to compare your classes, you could do that. So that's kind of fun. That's a new thing from Desmos also. When I click, oh, by the way, your activity, my mom hates this. So I had her do an activity and she was like, Lori, where's the end button? There's not an end button. It saves as you're going. I can see what you're doing as you're working. And it's saved at the end. And she did not like that. She wanted, closure to the activity, but they can just close the activity and it's saved. It's all good. Okay. Questions so far? Are we good still?
Just notification that you are awesome.
Oh, thanks. I love this. I don't know if you guys can't tell that I love Desmos. I mean, my kids are always like, Coach Lo, do you work for Desmos? I'm like, no, that I wish. No, just kidding. I love what I do. Okay. So I'm back on my presentation. So what I was thinking, and you guys can tell me, we can kind of go different ways on this. If you want to create an account, it's free, teacher.desmos.com, create an account, and then we can find an activity and I'll show you how to not steal, but borrow someone's activity and tweak it. And I can show you how to pull the slides that you want, all that good stuff. You guys want to do that now?
I have a yes in the chat.
Okay. So if you'll go to teacher.desmos.com, and I'm going to drop that link of the that Desmos activity. I mean, the Desmos page that I have that has all the activity on it. Christine, I'll drop that link into the chat.
Sounds good.
Okay. I took my screen share off for a second because I have to find it. Okay. Okay, so I dropped into the chat hold on, I can't do it at the same time. It just doesn't work for me. A Google Doc that I created that just has, I did this right when we figured out at Bartlesville that we were not going back to school. I kind of scrambled and tried to put together activities for teachers, even if they were, K through 5th grade, because Desmos has really been, I feel like, has been geared for high school and kind of eking into the middle school. But now, like I had my 5th grader do some activities this week on Desmos, and there's just some really fun things going on with Desmos, and people are sharing so many things. So I dropped that in the chat. It is not exhaustive, okay? And I was not trying to overwhelm anyone. So there are a lot of activities that you can find on Desmos, but I did at the top put how to create your account, teacher.desmos.com. I put how to create student accounts, and then there are tons of webinars and short videos. There are 2 different links. The first one is just learn.desmos.com, and the second one is learn.desmos.com/coronavirus. So kind of some good collections of activities and things that people are doing right now. All right. Did you guys find an activity that you want to look at? Are we at a yes?
I think you can choose. Or if everybody wants to choose their own and walk through this together, we can do that too.
Either way, it doesn't matter to me.
Choose your own or follow Lori.
That'll work. Okay, so I clicked on functions, and let's see, I don't even know what I'm looking for. Okay, I like this one. Let's do linear functions and turtle time trials. All right, so I've decided that I want to use this activity in my classroom, I think. So if you guys have chosen an activity, yours will be different than mine, and that's okay. But mine says Turtle Time Trials. It's created by Desmos. It's in these 3 collections. Also, they have given me a list of activities that are like this one that I might want to use. And this one has 10 activities with it. So distance learning grade 8, by the way, that's on my little Google Doc. These collections that say distance learning dash whatever grade, they're on there. And then recently released activities. So I could find similar things to that. But I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. And I'm going to click on student preview because I want to make sure that I want this. All right, so when I click on student preview, I can go through the slides and make sure that I want it. Okay, so click through your slides, make sure you want it. Notice Desmos is really good about this. Teacher moves at the bottom and sample responses. You know who's not really good about putting things like this on there? Me. Because I always forget, because I'm so involved in my activity and so excited about it, I forget to put those teacher moves on there. So Desmos is really good about it, and there are other teachers that are really good about it as well. So you can click through and kind of see what the students are going to do. You can even answer the questions. You can play the videos to see what's going to happen. This is a really fun activity to do. All right. So let's say, yes, I want this activity. And I don't want to edit anything. I just want it just like it is. I'm going to click create a class code, create class code. In a regular classroom, I have 3 sections of Algebra 3. I would create 3 separate class codes for my students. That way I don't have 65 students in one class code. I have them separated out in their classes. Does that make sense? All right, this tells you how many students have completed the activity. Here's your class code again. How many students have completed the activity, and then the date for the activity. You can click on View Dashboard, and that's going to give you the link to drop in for your students. So either on Canvas, and guys, I don't know if I said this, but I highlight this link and I'll put Turtle Time Trials, and I'll highlight the letters or the words, and then click that little link icon and then put this link in there. So they don't have to copy and paste anything into anywhere. They're just clicking on that hot link or active link, and it's taking them right to Desmos. All right, so now you have your activity. So now if you click on the X to take down the hey students, type this in, blah, blah, blah. If you click on that, now you're on the teacher board. Now, as soon as your students start coming into the class, you can monitor what they're doing. If you're teaching live online, then you can pace them so that you guys can stop and talk about it. You can send them to breakout rooms to work on it. I mean, there's tons of options if you're using Zoom and you have live instruction. Top right side, snapshots. So once your students start submitting activities or start submitting the slides, you can take snapshots of their work so that you can use it later. If you click on summary, this is where I'll have those boxes, and I'll show you another thing about the boxes in just a second. Don't let me forget. And then if I click on teacher, that's my teacher view, so I can go through all the slides. I can still click on teacher moves at the bottom and sample responses. And then when I click on student, that gives me my student view and what the students are seeing. On the top left, I have the anonymized. So when I want to point out something, so online especially, I would click on this so that all the names are different mathematicians instead of my kids in class. You can practice with the pacing now if you want to. So click the middle button, pacing, and then you can start on a screen. So I can click on screen 3 to 6 on mine. And then you click restrict to 3 and 6. And so those would be the only screens that my kids would be looking at. And you can stop it. And then you can click the pause button, and you can see how the background changes to green on that band where your slides are, and then you can take it off. Also, in that band where your slides are, you can skip through the slides. So you can click on, if I want to look at everybody's responses on slide number 3, I can click on slide 3. If I want to skip to slide 9 to see what their reflections were, I can skip to slide 9. So you have power to skip around. Any questions so far? Okay, click back on the name of your activity at the top left. So mine was Turtle Time Trial. So I clicked on that. Let's say that I want to add a screen. I want to add something to this activity. I go up to the top right 3 dots, not the very top right, just in my Desmos screen, next to the plus sign. So it's teacher guide, plus sign, and then the snowman. So this activity, notice you can share the activity, but you cannot copy and edit it. So Desmos has locked it down where you cannot copy the activity. And Desmos, when they create their own activities, they do that a lot because their name will still be on here even if you edit it. So there will be some teachers where you can click that, you can copy and edit, you can add slides to it, and then there will be some activities where you cannot do that. But you can share the activity. So if you have a co-teacher that you want to know if he or she wants to do this activity with you, you could share the activity with them and then add them as a co-teacher if they want to. Okay, I want to show you one more thing. I want to show you 2 more things. Sorry, 2 more. Okay, if you'll go back to Zoom so you can see this. No, not that. Just kidding. Yes, go back to Zoom though. Not kidding on that. If you want to give your students, so this is the activity I was saying I gave to my students before we started using Desmos for remote learning. So there's the mood. So this is what I did to copy that. So you saw that I already gave you this slide on mood. I clicked on copy this screen. I went to custom, and in the top right, I clicked on new activity. So this allows me to create a new activity. And you can name it whatever you want. Then I come over here to the slide and I do Control-C to copy it. Theoretically, it should copy. Sorry, Control-V. What? Oh gosh. Okay, I gotta go back. I'm silly. I just copied a blank slide. That was good. Okay, I'm going back. Let me get my turtle one. By the way, if you lose your way like that, I can go to history and I can pull up my last activity. So you can see Bo, I had Bo do the decimal change, cool activity. And there's some ones with fractions too. Very cool activity where
Lori,
you're dragging and dropping. Yes.
can you go through the copying the slide thing?
Yeah, because I messed up. I'm going back.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going back because I messed up and I copied a blank slide, which was genius on my part. So I'm going back to my turtle trials. All right. So is everybody back to their activity? So here's my turtle trials. Okay. So hopefully you're back to your activity. All right. I'm going back to my dashboard. I'm going to choose a screen. Maybe. Ah! Okay, I'm sorry. Give me just a second because my computer is just bouncing around. So give me a second. Sorry.
You're good.
I'm going to my activity because the turtle trials won't let me copy anything. So they have to give you permission to be able to share and copy. So I'm going back to my remote learning. Okay, so here's the slide that I copied for you guys. All right, so it has to have this little button in the activity. You have to be able to copy and edit it before this will work. So if you go up to my activity, remember Desmos had where you couldn't copy and edit. Mine is open. So if you want to use mine and change it all up, you can use it. If you want some of the shells, you can delete slides, you can do whatever you want. You just click on copy and edit and it'll make your own copy. That also means when the copy and edit is open, when you can do that, that also means you can copy individual slides. So I went down to my slides and I just chose one. So I'm going to choose this one. And you click on copy this screen, which is the same as doing Control C. And then I opened a new activity. Do you want me to do that again too?
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay. Okay, so I go to custom. So I click on this custom. I click on new activity. I add a title and then click on start building. So now I can add anything I want. So I just want to paste that mood screen in here. So it went to slide 2, but you can move these. I want this to be my #1 slide. So there it is. So this is what it looks like on the teacher side. But if you click on preview, that's what your students are going to see. And then on the other screens, if you want to add your own stuff, so if I want to add a graph, I can click on graph, and then I can put a graph in, y equals 5x squared or 3x squared. And then I can also add a note. And I can have student input at the bottom. So that's just some quick things that you can do to ask your students questions, and then you click on preview and that's what it looks like. If you decide that you want, let's say that you want this entire activity, or here's my finding the inverse of a 2x2. You're like, hey, I like that. Look at her cute little matrix picture that she put at the front. That's probably a good activity. Then you click on the snowman, copy and edit. And then once you do that, it's yours. And so you can see at the top, it says copy of blah, blah, blah. And you say, I don't really like her title because it's too long. And you want to do that. Then now it's yours. So you click on next and click on publish and it's yours. And it says by Lori Martin, created by me. Oh, great. Now I'm double, but it'll have your name right there, created by you. If you decide, you know what, I don't want it to be that long and you want to edit the activity, you can go in and take out slides. So if you don't want the feedback slide, you can remove that and you just delete it. So these 3 buttons you can click and you can delete the screen or you can duplicate the screen. So I set mine when my students did this activity, I set mine where they couldn't go past slide number 10. And I put code in. So all I have to do is look at the last screen and it'll tell me whether my students were correct or incorrect on their answers to those questions. So there are, I mean, guys, there's so much. That's like basic Desmos. There's so much you can do. Coding that they have now, the thumbs up, the thumbs down. I mean, there's like, I could get really excited and we could do this for days. So do you guys have specific questions? Do you want to make an activity and play around with it, or like copy an activity and play around with it? Make sure you can share it with your students. I went to, I think you can still see my screen, right? So I went to Google and I put in fractions Desmos. That's all I did. And all of these things came up, like adding and subtracting fractions, fraction sense, fraction talks. All of these are Desmos activities. So if it says activity builder, that's where we were. We were building activities. So you can look teacher.desmos.com activity builder. These are activities that people have built already. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel if we can find something that we like. So I just click on fraction challenge, or whichever one you want to click on. And okay, so fraction challenge, let's look at it. So I click on this. Clicking on the slide is the same as clicking on student preview. So I see this little copy thing, which means I can use this activity and make it my own if I want to. So I go through here and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Drag numbers, like it. I don't want to change anything. So even if it's not copyable and you want to use it, you can still use it. You just click create a class code. You just can't change anything on it. This one I can change because I had that little copy thing. So I could change it and make it my own if I want to, but I don't have to do that. If I love the activity like it is, I just click create a class code and I'm ready to go. All I have to do is drop this link in, click on view dashboard, drop this little link in for my kiddos, and they are good to go. I have to make an account. Make them make an account.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, this is entirely free.
Yes.
All of the resources, all of the activities, all of the class codes, the webinars, the learning opportunities, everything they do is free, which is awesome. And there is the question, does it work well if all the student has is a phone? Some of the activities do. I know some of them are not necessarily tailored to mobile, but they actually have an image on the main activity screen that will highlight which one it's best for, if not all three.
Yeah, and I will say this too, on that note, it will say on the first slide, like your screen's too small, blah, 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 blah. If there aren't any card sorts in it, they're usually okay, because I've had kids in class that their Chromebook was dead or whatever, and they had to do it on their phone, and they can usually get by with it. It's not perfect. They're not going to be able to see everything probably, but they can get by with that. So.
Bree asked, how much training did it take to teach the kids how to use Desmos?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, I've been doing it for a while. We start out the year using Desmos, but it's really, I mean, these kids are so techy. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to learn it. And you could even do a screencastify, just do a couple of minutes of, hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, do this, and get it taken care of. But they can probably figure it out on their own. They give me ideas too a lot. Tell me I'm giving them too much task work to do and make it better. So.
Yeah, there are some activities in there too that are really intuitive. Actually, most of them are.
Yes.
But my students who had never seen it before, it took them maybe like 2 slides to figure it out. And then they were going, and there were a couple times that we would have to come back and answer questions all together. But for the most part, they were really able to grasp it, and they're typing and drawing, and some of them take advantage of the drawing tools and stuff like that, but you can see everything they're doing. So you can just pause their screen and remind them that you can see everything they're doing.
Yes.
So
I also say
Brandy really like drawing inappropriate items.
Brandy, I put Bo on it yesterday. He had never been on Desmos, and he's a 5th grader. And I put him on the activity, and it was one where he had to drag the tiles to make, so the question was like, add 2 decimal numbers so that you get an integer. And I didn't tell him anything, and he figured it out. So I think our kids are probably, pretty techy. So, okay. Can you search?
There are 2 more. Oh yeah, you can see.
Yeah. Could I search? I don't think you can do that. You might be able to do that on Google, but you can't search by name yet. We have asked that question too. But I'll share all my activities. You can have whatever. But I look for an activity that I can use before I sit down to create one. Because there are a lot of people with a lot of good things out right now. How did you do the slide where you added in the table where you can see their answers to the questions? Yes, a coding question. Just kidding. Okay, so can I show real quick or no?
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes. So I will say, if you have to hop off, Feel free to hop off at any point. Thank you for coming. If you want to stay on and see an advanced dealio that Lori's really excited about having to do with coding, you can stay on. I will have the recording of this. I need to put captions on it and get it through our system, and then I'll email it out through the newsletter so you can see this again and pause and restart at points that you need. So I'll do that. And then I will stay on as long as you need me. So if you have questions to ask me or questions for Lori, you can stay on, and otherwise have a good rest of your day. So Lori, go ahead. That's all the announcements I had.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go in and edit this activity. So I don't remember who asked the question, but so they can see. Okay. So I've been learning how to code. So my students couldn't see this. So I went through all of these screens. So let me go back to question number 1. So question number 1, I just needed to label their input. So it's input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, and then my multiple choice are MC. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even remember now. So on this feedback, number 1, I had that honor code. And so I pulled their name off of, they had to type their name in. So I pulled their name in. So when they get to this, when I get to this last screen, it has their name at the top. So when I'm entering grades, I just see this last screen, and then if there's an issue, I go back. But here's the code, and I can send you this, I can drop this link actually to the activity, and you can just copy the code. But that's the code. So it puts it in row 1, column 2, and then if it's correct, it puts in yes, and if not, it puts in no. So you can kind of see, these were the answers to the multiple choice questions. So if they clicked on the first one, it was right. If not, it said no. This was a self-checking activity. So they all should have been yeses when I got to this last screen, and I was surprised. They weren't all yeses because some kids forgot to click on the box after they worked the problem. They forgot to click on the correct answer. So I had to send them feedback and say, hey, you didn't answer question number whatever. Do you want me to drop this into the chat? I don't remember who asked the question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
And if you want to put your email in the chat too, then sure. Maybe people could email you with questions. I'm also going to save the chat, so I'll send out the transcript of the chat with all these links and things too.
Okay.
And Sylvia, we're going to do a weekly PD pretty much starting today. So we're going to do Ed Puzzle next week.
Yay.
And then interactive slides and Notice and Wonder, and Brandy's on, and she's going to do that. And Tina, are you still on? Yeah. So Tina's going to be presenting Ed Puzzle. Brandy's going to be presenting interactive slides. So I'm really excited that you guys are willing to put your expertise in front of us.
It's so fun.
And while you're pulling up whatever you want to, Lori, just thank you for doing this and for sharing with us, because we can definitely see your passion for Desmos, and I think all of us learned something new, whatever our level of expertise was before with Desmos. I think we all learned multiple things. I know I did. Something I told you before, it makes me
well, thank you for allowing me to share. It's so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, Bridget. Hi. And Brandy. Oh, my friends. Hugs. Oh, that makes me teary. I want to see you guys.
Yeah, no, this is awesome though. I love when we can come together and we can connect a little bit in this crazy isolated world that we're in right now. So I appreciate you all coming, and again, Lori, thank you. And if you all have any other questions, please feel free, ask them now. or stay on if you want to wait to ask me on your own, or email me, or email Lori.
I'll drop my email in the chat too.
So, all right. Thanks, guys.
I think my email's on the slides. Do you want I can send you the slides and the document again if you want me to.
I got them. So okay. I will put that in the newsletter with the recording when that gets ready.
Thanks, Bridget.
Hey.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, thank you, Lori.
Yep.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome, Tina.
Christine, is Brandy going over Pear Deck?
I don't think so. I think, she might. She said she was going to maybe talk about Pear Deck as she was looking at more ideas and talking to a few different people. So she was going to talk about like how she makes her slides interactive, but then I think she was also maybe going to tie in Pear Deck.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too. So yeah. How are you?